Chuck Ocelli.
The second hour of the Ocelli Effect begins now here at Ocelli.com. Of course, this is a Monday episode, and it being January 14th of 2019, allegedly according to that thing we call a calendar, it is an interesting time for certain. Why would that be, Chuck? What's particularly interesting? Well, you know, current events is not necessarily what we're discussing here today. Or are we? Jordan Maxwell is with me. We're discussing religion. We're continuing on with that series. This is part 17. And, it's really fascinating to me that people's questions are dovetailing together. I'm getting groups of questions about what's going on regarding today's events. Well, not necessarily today as in Monday's events, but the events of today in general. The concept of terrorism, the concept of this clash of civilizations, the idea that there is a cultural divide because of these religious precepts and all that. Well, you know what? You could study this a whole lot more in depth if you go to jordanmaxwellshow.com and go join the Research Society. That's at jordanmaxwellshow.com. I'll provide you guys with the link with the podcast anyways, to make sure that you can go directly and join the Research Society and go to Jordan's website. Not only that, but there's videos over there which you can download and stream right away. Those are there for purchase for a nominal fee. You can make a donation. You can send an email to Jordan. You can join the Research Society, but all of it begins at jordanmaxwellshow.com. Jordan Maxwell Show, put it all together as one word, jordanmaxwellshow.com. That is the only website that is actually Jordan Maxwell's. And accept no substitutions, my friends. Anyway, Jordan is with me, and I am going to get these questions in as quickly as I can, and I have this feeling that it's going to take up the rest of the hour. But do feel free to email Jordan or myself. Info at Ocelli.com is just fine. Go to the chat room at Ocelli.com. Sometimes I have Twitter open. I don't have it open tonight. But when I have Twitter open, I'll take Twitter questions as well. But either way, I mean, get involved and be part of the show and make it go in the direction that it needs to go. Ask the questions, and if they're relevant, I will enter them into the conversation, making it easier
Chuck,
on Jordan.
I would say that there's a point I would like to make before we get into the questions.
Sure.
Once we get into the questions, I know we'll have plenty of them. But there's a point I'd like to make, and that is, in the Bible, there are two terms that are used. One is a disciple, and the other is the word apostle. The word there's a big difference between a disciple and an apostle. A disciple is one who picks a teacher to be his master, and so he follows that particular person and what that man or woman is saying, and guides their life by what they're hearing from their teacher. So that they are listening to the disciple. The disciple is listening to a teacher. And so if you're a disciple, you've picked one person to be your teacher. But the word apostle in the Bible comes from a Greek word meaning one who is called out. One who is called out. As if you were, say, in the military, and you're standing on a rapt attention on the field with 100 other soldiers, and you're waiting for the general to come. And all of a sudden comes up the limo with the 5-star general, and he gets out, and everyone's standing at attention. And he walks around looking at the troops, and he picks you, he points at you, and said, come here. And so he picks you out of the group and tells you, go over there and sit in the car. So therefore you have been picked by the general. Therefore the word apostle means one who was picked, one who was called out of the world. But a disciple is one who picks the teacher. An apostle is the one who's picked by the teacher. The teacher picks the disciple. And so this is what is important for you to understand, that we are almost all people in religion are disciples. They're disciples of different religions. They're disciples of Billy Graham. They're disciples of this group or that group or this teacher or that teacher. But they're not following the Great Spirit. They're not following the Great Spirit. So what you need to understand, I have said this before on other broadcasts, I'll say it again, in order to understand apostle, it's as if you were a young man who was in the military. You joined the military or you're in the military, and the first day you are on the bus, you're going to a military base for the first day and the first time. And when you get off the bus on the military base, you tell the officer in charge, you tell him, look, since I'm going to be in the military, I need to go to Washington, D.C., I need to work with the Pentagon. And so he will then tell you, fine. And he will then have some other military guys come over and walk you off and take you out behind the building and knock your teeth out and give you a couple of bloody black eyes. Why? Because you don't tell power where you're going. Power tells you. So that's the name of the tune in Christianity and in religion. You don't tell God anything. You don't tell anybody nothing. God calls you. So if you are a disciple, you have decided to pick somebody to listen to. And so you are disciplining yourself according to what you're hearing from that teacher. Right. That's why they call you a disciple. You're disciplining yourself to follow the teachings that you pick, the person you pick. But if you have in your spirit as an individual, you as an individual are spiritually very concerned about religion, about the history of religion, about the history of the world we live in, and where you came from, and your children, where they're going, and what's going to happen to the human family, if you're really concerned, then what you're doing is you're showing the Spirit that you are very concerned, and you need to realize that your undying concern that you have for all these spiritual questions is being put into you by God. You are not picking God. God is picking you. Right. Because most people couldn't care less. They don't know nothing, they don't understand nothing, and they're not interested in nothing. They got their baseball games, their football games. They don't need God. They don't need to ask anything. And if they are interested, they'll pick who they're interested in. They'll be disciples. But if you're an apostle, it means God has picked you. You don't pick the teacher. The teacher picks you. So therefore, if you have this really strong feeling of wanting to know, and very few people do, but if you were one of them that has this very strong, continual feeling in your mind that you want to know what the real truth is and what's going to happen to you and what's going to happen to our country and to your family, then you are being called by God, so to speak. The Spirit is calling you. You have been picked. Therefore, you are coming out of the lunacy that we call the human race. You have been picked. Somebody higher than you has picked you. You didn't decide who you want to know. The God Himself has picked you and put it into you so that you want to know. So don't think it's because you want to know you decided anything. No, the way spirituality actually works, that's why I'm saying that the whole human race cannot be saved. You're not going to be saved. You're only going to be saved from this world of darkness if somebody higher than you wants you to come out. They want you to listen. They want you to know the real truth. Then you are now continually worried about these things in your mind. It's because God is calling you. Most people are not called.
Interesting side note to what you're saying too, Jordan, is that quite honestly and frankly, the military is a religious order, and religious order is military. And right. People don't necessarily understand that, but let me just throw one thing into the equation here, which everybody knows, but everybody seems to forget when it comes to this. You swear an oath when you are inducted into the military. Even if you're drafted, you swear an oath.
That's right.
If you do not swear the oath, if you go through every other part of the process but do not swear the oath,
you're not in.
You're not in. Now, this is rather curious, isn't it? So let's remember that both things are correct. And as far as disciples go, I find it interesting also that some of the people that are viewed as some of the darkest individuals who are speaking evil thoughts on the planet sometimes tell us the greatest truths. You have to look at the way the word disciple has been utilized. Just like taking a look at the name of that fort that the Wailing Wall actually is. Take a look at the name Anthony, Antonio, and Antonin. In fact, all of these sorts of things that are rooted in that word. And no, I'm not going to give you the information. I want you to go look at it for yourself and find out what that actually means. And then maybe you get a greater context as to why people are going to the Wailing Wall.
Yep.
Anyway.
That's exactly right.
These things are all correct, and it's interesting because military is one of those things that's discussed often. And for those that say, okay, maybe I'm backtracking on what I've said before regarding this, look, I do not doubt the honest and good intent of a lot of people that choose to serve in the military. I don't at all. I've said that many times. I feel, in fact, that it's a great betrayal, that they are conned into doing what it is they do. But I also feel the very same way about most of these organized religions. There's a lot of people with very good intentions that wish to, be church active, that go out and do things like literally do good deeds. They feed poor people. They give clothes to people who need them. They do things in their communities. They do that because their intents are good. They do not know what they are really serving, just like the military people, because it's based on the same concept. Anyway.
Precisely.
So this, I don't sound crazy to you at all, do I, Jordan?
If you remember what Jesus said when he looked at the people, supposedly, in the scripture he says, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do." And this is exactly correct. Forgive the people today in the churches because they know not what they do. The Bible says, has God saying, "My people are dying from a lack of knowledge." My people are dying. He doesn't say the Buddhists are dying from a lack of knowledge. The Hindus, no. My people are dying from a lack of knowledge, wisdom, understanding, reading a book. Think for yourself. My Lord, when you find out what is really going on this earth that you didn't know anything about, you're going to be shocked out of your system. You're going to be shocked out of your mind when you find out what's really happening to America right now and where it's going and where we as a human family on the earth, where we're heading. It's all been well planned a long time ago by very powerful secret societies who founded this country and who are now taking over our government. They've taken over our systems, our institutions, our education, banking. All of our institutions that we use to guide our society are now in the hands of people who want to destroy this country. They want to destroy you as an American, in America, period. Why? Because you've made a lot of enemies all over the world. Why? Because you are free and you have become wealthy and you have become powerful. And why? Because you've had the freedom and liberty and justice to do just that. But the people of the world see you becoming very powerful and very wealthy, and they don't like it. And the elites, what we call the elites, do not want you to be free at all. The Rockefellers, the Rothschilds, and all the other international banking elites, all working for one thing: to promote your destruction. We don't have national leaders. We have misleaders. people who are planning your demise as they are taking your votes and smiling and waving at you, and at night while you're asleep they are having their secret meetings about what they're going to do to rape you and steal from you and kill you and murder your children, and they're going to start wars and promoting violence all over the world. And the same South American and Central American countries, which we refer to as Catholic, which are dominated by the Vatican, are also the drug runners, the people who are raising all the drugs to be sold into America, to drug America. You want to drug your victims before you rape them. So we're being drugged by the countries in South and Central America and Mexico, which we know are dominated by the Catholic Church.
Well, make no mistake, there is no institution in this hemisphere which is not corrupted. It doesn't matter what it is. The legal system, sure. The government, absolutely. The medical system, truly. All of the corporate facilities which are there to do whatever it is they say they're there to do. Notice everything has a toxic element to it that just seems to be there, almost perfectly, lined up with all these other institutions to make sure that there is nothing which is entirely clean or helpful. Everything has a very serious price attached to it. Sure, we'll give you cheap food, but it's going to kill you. Sure, we'll give you, medicine in some ways, but even if you can afford it, it's probably going to kill you too, because half the time we don't really care what it does to anybody because it's there to make money. The military needs to make its money regardless of whether there is a just reason to defend ourselves or not, so on and so on and so on. And this is the way it was done, not by accident, not over time, simply because people are lazy, but because this was the design.
That's right. It was designed to do that. It was designed to be who we are today. Absolutely.
And what's interesting here is again, these questions, and I'm going to tie them all together. Art and a couple of other individuals have asked about basically the scriptures and modern times. Now, there's a lot of people out there, especially these, and why did I just chortle at the thought for a moment? Because I just ran a very quick little slideshow in my head of various televangelists, really quickly there, and I just, I smirk and I chuckle at them, because they're ridiculous human beings, the majority of them.
Oh, God, yes.
So I was thinking to myself of people like, Hagee and, guys from the past like Swaggart, who I used to find rather entertaining, but, Jim Baker, even Billy Graham. All of these guys, these major league preachers, right? They always tell you about how, and the Jehovah's Witnesses, they'll knock on your door if they can find you and they're not afraid of you. They don't come to my door anymore, Jordan. But, they learned. But the thing is, there are people at all times coming to you and telling you that this is the end of days. It has been foretold in the scriptures. They often point to the book of Revelations. They talk about all of these different areas in the Bible that are about death and destruction and the coming apocalypse, so on and so on and so on, which, by the way, not a story which originated in the Bible, just so you know.
Right.
But here's the thing. Do we see something in the scriptures? Because these were not written just as a fanciful story. Do we see something in the scriptures that appears to be a really good descriptor for what we see related to the church, the corrupt power struggles, the giant nation, which is the United States? We are the empire of the world because we are in almost every country with our military presence in one way or another, et cetera, et cetera. Do you know of references that you could give to people where it is described in scriptures, this particular time period, and the time leading up to it and all of that? Like I said, most people will tell you about Revelations, or if you're Hagee, you got your Israeli and American flag together and you think you're doing a great patriotic service. But anyway, let's put those guys aside. Is there something that you would point people to that describes what we're watching unfold on the planet today?
Yes. Something very important, yes. If you go on my website, JordanMaxwellShow.com, you will see an advertisement, a little banner, saying that you can join my Research Society website. Join my research website, and you will find all kinds of documents, incredible pictures showing you all of the profound lies and deception and things that you've been told that were not true. I've been doing this for almost 60 years now. I've been trying to wake the people of this world up to what's actually going on, and I've paid a terrible price for it. I'm now close to 80 years old, broke with nothing. I'm trying desperately to do what I do before I leave this world, because I believe that it was given to me to try and wake up the people around the world to what's actually, in fact, happening to the human family, where we've come from, where we are now, and where we're going. And if you go on my research website and you join it, there are two places that I think you need to go to first. One is one of the divisions of my research society. You will find I have divided all of the different subjects into different folders, and you check the folder you're interested in and click on it, and it will open up a world of research to you on that subject. And so if you join my Research Society, first of all, go to the audio-video folder. And when you open it up, the very first lecture you will hear is a 2.5-hour lecture that was done back in 1966. 1966, almost what? I don't even know how long ago that would be. Over 50 years ago. In 1966, there was a man who recorded a 2.5-hour lecture. It was actually over 8 hours, but it was boiled down to a 2.5-hour lecture on what is going on the earth with America, and where we came from, where are we now, and where are we going. It was the most devastating thing I have ever heard. It changed my life. I was absolutely struck by this lecture. It was the most extraordinary unfolding of knowledge and wisdom I have never heard before about who we are, what's going on with this country, and where is it going. It changed my life instantly. It just shocked me. And it started me because I was already talking about secret societies and giving lectures as far back as 1960 and 61 on the ancient cults and the ancient religions of the world. And I knew that the world I lived in was corrupt through and through, but I had never heard this particular lecture. And so if you go on my website, Jordan Maxwell Show, and you will see an advertisement for my research website, join it, and go to the audio video, which is the very first one, I think. And when you open it up, the first one will be a lecture, 2.5 hours. It's on the web. And so I finally got it put on the web. And now you can go and listen to what I heard some 50 years ago, over 50 years ago, well over 50 years ago, almost 60 years ago, 1966. And it's an incredible story about how the world you live in actually works. And it will blow your mind, I guarantee you, if you are intellectually honest, and if you're educated enough to handle the real truth, which most people aren't. They will hear it and don't know they don't have the faintest idea what they're hearing, and it just sounds crazy. But if you're intellectually honest and educated, listen to that audio lecture on my website, on my research website, and it will absolutely blow you away. This man, as far back as 1966, many years ago, already knew where we were going and what was going to happen, and it's exactly what's happening today. And he tells you who's doing it and how they're doing it and why and who's financing it and where it's going. And it's an extraordinary education. right there on my research website. And then while you're on my research website, you might want to go to another folder. It says it's called important, what do they call it? Important lectures or interesting articles. That's the name of it. Interesting articles.
Right.
And on interesting articles, I have 2 or 3 major articles right up in the front, which will absolutely blow you away. Things you have never heard before that were documented from the Washington, D.C. documents that will extraordinarily, just blow you away, that you've never heard before. I have taken the last 60 years of my life looking for all of the dark secrets of government, religion, finance, banking, and where this world has come from and what is it doing now, and it's all there on my research website. If you really want to know the truth, if you really want to hear the real stuff, there's something I'm telling you that is so extraordinary, you need to go on my website and join my research website and listen to the first audio on the audio-video folder. There are also, I want to say, 2 videos I have that are being streamed on my website. If you go to Jordan Maxwell Show, you will see on the right-hand side of the home page 2 videos that are being streamed. They are separate from my Research Society. You don't get those on the Research Society. They are separate, and you can watch them, but on the Research Society there is a audio-video place, and you listen to the first audio, listen to maybe all of them. All of these different audios on my audio-video page are extraordinary stuff.
Right, there is an amazing array of stuff there, and also the other folders, by the way, under because I'm looking at them right now, because I'm in there, by the way, guys. I actually am part of the Jordan Maxwell Research Society, and you guys might really want to consider that if you haven't done it already, because the other folders here are called, let's see, Bits of History, Did You Know, God's Holy Word, Have you ever wondered? Now, these sound like fanciful sort of titles. They're not. When you go in, it's some really interesting stuff. Even the graphic on the page describing something very interesting about your computer is fascinating, honestly. But you got highly recommended materials. Let's see. Well, you got artwork from you as well, but also there's pictures with a message, quotes of importance, and there's different things about religion, different things about history, different things about government. Some of it is, like you say, you got the audio-video section, but there's a lot of visual elements here where you've got images, you've got articles, you've got references. Matter of fact, I think there's even a couple of just whole books in here. I
put some of my books in there for free.
That are here for free. So, automatically you've got some books, you've got this audio-video section, and like you said, there's this other section with the 2 videos that are streaming right now, and you're going to add more as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. We want to add as much as we can. I'm going to be adding, but just understand that the 2 videos you see on my homepage are separate from the Research Society.
Right.
The Research Society is cram-filled with all kinds of research material, and I only have one webmaster, and he only has 8 hours a day, and there's only so much you can do in a day's time, and so he's got huge amounts of material to put on my website, on that research website for me. I don't do any of it. I have a webmaster. I have to pay him to do it. But he's putting on all of my research stuff from over the years. He's trying to put it on little bit by little, little by little. It's all coming on, and one day soon it's going to be monstrous. It's already huge. It's going to be monstrous soon. And it's got really interesting stuff, especially if you're religious. Go on the religious symbolism. I don't remember what the name of that folder was, but it's in there. It's on religion, and it's all the stories you've been told about the Bible and been told about religion, where they really came from, and the pictures where it really, what the real story is, and where it really came from.
Well, there's two sections that actually touch on that, which is hidden stuff in religion. First of all, shows you part of that.
That's it.
And
yeah, that's it. Hidden stuff in religion.
And there's also pictures with a message.
Yeah.
Which, again, I think both folders actually touch on that, where you get different things about hidden symbolism. And like I said, it's just at the beginning of the page. There's a little graphic there that explains something about your computer. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but it's rather fascinating.
Yep, it sure is.
So anyway, like I said, there is just immense information here. And yeah, the last folder, by the way, I said, I know there's a couple of books in here. The last folder is free ebooks. There's a ton of them there. So anyway,
yep.
it is what it is. I'm just saying that this is one of the things that I'm looking at the page right now because I'm a member. So there you go, guys. I definitely would suggest it. But anyway, but that lecture at the very top there from over 52 years ago now says it better than you'd be able to capsulize it here as far as what's going on and where to look exactly in the scriptures and stuff, huh?
It is the most incredible lecture I have ever heard, and even today, after hearing it for over 50 years, I still say, when I listen to it today, it's mind-boggling. It's the most incredible expose on how this world really works. What's really actually, in fact, going on if you can handle it. If you can't handle the truth, a lot of people, I've said it before, a lot of children are frightened of the dark. But what's really pathetic is when adults are frightened of the light. People don't want to hear the truth, but if you really want to know what's going on, go to that first folder with audio video and listen to the first 2.5 hour lecture. And if that doesn't set you back about 10 years growth, nothing's going to. If you're intellectually honest and bright enough to understand what's being said, it's going to scare you to death. It's the most incredible expose of the world we live in today and who we are today and why and where it's going. This man who did this was an extraordinary mind. He's no longer with us, of course. But what a mind he had. He knew what was actually going on, and he told us. For the first time, you will find out what the world is really all about. You need to go and listen to it.
Right. Now, I'm taking a look at that, by the way, and it says 1967, actually.
I got it in 67, but it was actually recorded in 66.
Oh, okay. No, I was just trying to figure that out, if maybe maybe they need to go to another one, but you are talking about the speech
Illuminati.
from Mr. Fagan, yeah?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. No, just checking, because I'm looking, like I said, I'm looking at these things as you're speaking about them. And if you, the listener, were also a member of the Research Society, you know exactly what we're talking about. It is amazing.
And then there's also a series there done by another doctor from back in 1959 and 60, who did about 6 one-hour lectures, at least 1 hour, maybe they're 90 minutes apiece. There's about 6 or 7 90-minute lectures done by a professor from Wayne State University explaining the world you live in. It's the most extraordinary stuff you're ever going to hear. He explains how the world was built and how we are today operating around the world, and for the first time you will see for the first time what's actually going on the earth. And I knew about this back in 1960, and I kept it, and I put it on my research website because I think it's extraordinary stuff that people need to know about. And when they ask you, well, what's going on? Well, go listen to those 2 sets of lectures, and you'll find out what's going on. It's all on my Research Society, and I want to thank you for giving me a time to plug it, because I'm putting all of my research onto that website, because I know I'm not going to be here much longer. And I know that the world is dying in the darkness that they're in, and I want to enlighten my fellow man, the people who want to know. If you really want to know, and if the Spirit is guiding you and calling you, that you should know about what's happening to the world you live in, what's going to happen to you, you need to go back and listen to these 2 series of lectures.
Really quickly, I just wanted to let you know that somebody in the chat room says that they're joining the Research Society now because they want to go and hear that lecture. I've also got another individual who's asking a interesting question that I think we might have covered before, but just really quickly, I want to throw it at you because, as I said, anything that's relevant, I will put it into play.
Yep.
Here we go. Did Jordan consult the folks that made Zeitgeist, or did they exploit his work? Question.
They exploited my work, but on another major radio show many years ago, you would know if I told you the name of the show. That's a major radio show. The producer, his name was Peter something. I can't remember the producer of Zeitgeist. I'm trying to remember his name. He was a guest on this radio show. And the host of the show asked him, where did you come by this knowledge? Where did you get it from? And he said, it's all based on the work of Jordan Maxwell. I've just been listening to Jordan for many years. I decided that since he hasn't put it into a video, I will. And he says, so it's all based on him. And I can send you that clip if you want to hear it yourself. I'll just send you the clip. And you can hear the Peter Joseph was the guy's name. Peter Joseph was the producer of Zeitgeist. And he said, I did Zeitgeist. It's all, period, based on Jordan Maxwell's work. He was the one that incited me to do this. After hearing him for so many years, I've decided, since he hasn't done anything with this work on a video, I will. I took all of his work and put it into a video called Zeitgeist. So I was, in fact, the reason for the video being made to start with, according to the producer. There are other people who tried to copy me that are on there, and
well, in fact, they even use clips of you in the movie.
Yeah. And it was really an extraordinary event. I didn't know anything about this movie. I didn't know anything about Zeitgeist. He just used my voice from different radio shows that I have done. Peter Joseph, the producer, used my voice and my talking about different subjects, and then created Zeitgeist, which was heard by, over 100 million people around the world. And it also, incidentally, whether you know it or not, Zeitgeist, the movie, also gave birth to a political party called the Zeitgeist Party. Around the world, I think it was 37 different countries, there is a Zeitgeist political movement. And universities and colleges and schools, it's called the Zeitgeist movement, based on Jordan Maxwell's work.
Well, and also what piggybacked onto that is the Venus Project, which again is interesting work when you talk about Jacques Fresco and his concepts, but that is in the later incarnations of Zeitgeist. All of the bedrock material is really you. But then they sort of offer Fresco as a solution to a lot of the things that are illing the planet,
Yeah, and I didn't have anything to do with Zeitgeist 2 or 3 or anything else, but I was the light on the Zeitgeist movie, the first one. The producer said I did it all based on Jordan Maxwell, period.
Yeah, but still throughout those other movies, quite honestly, until you get to the fourth one, you're still present in the material. I mean, it's just...
I didn't even know that, because I didn't even know about Zeitgeist, much less what else is on.
Yeah, I'm just, well, you know what it is? I became rather enamored with this stuff when it was handed out, because there was this encouragement to hand out those DVDs for free years ago.
Yeah.
Which someone handed me one. I created some copies. I handed them along, and this is, before YouTube was a big enough thing. People were doing this. Yep, and, quite honestly, I got to see you before I knew who you were.
Well, lots of people did. Yeah, a lot of people saw zeitgeist, which the word zeitgeist is a German word, which means the spirit of the times.
Right.
Zeitgeist means the spirit of the times in which you're living. Well, my God, if you want to talk about the spirit of the times in which we're living, you're talking about chaos, lies, deception, misunderstandings, purposeful darkness, to keep the people in the dark about what's going on, the real lies and the destruction of the human family. That is the spirit of the times in which we're living. And I've wanted to be able to start myself. I'd like to, what I would really like to be able to do, which I know I could do if I had help, I would like to reform religion. I would like to start a new understanding of the ancient world of religion, where the religions of this world have come from, and get back to the original. Go back to the old, ancient, original religion, which was called the sacred science. The sacred science or astrotheology. I'd like to reform religion. Open up the world to the real truth of where Judaism has come from, where Islam has come from, and where Christianity is based on. Go back to the old way. And that's another interesting point. Christianity was referred to in the Roman Empire. Christians themselves were referred to. They don't know this. But in the Roman Empire, Christians were referred to as atheists. Christians were the first atheists in the Roman Empire. Why? Because they would not worship the Roman gods. And so the Romans said, if you won't worship our gods, you must be crazy. Because they are the only gods in the whole universe as the Roman gods. And if you don't worship the Roman gods, then you are obviously an atheist. You're crazy. Because you don't worship our gods. Well, today is the same thing. Today, people have all kinds of words and names for people like me who are not accepting the world that we live in and not accepting the religious situation that we've been given, because religions around the world are corporations. They're business. This is why all the churches are in denominations. Denominations like 10s and 20s and 50s. Churches are divided into denominations because they are a business. They are corporations. It's an extraordinary fact of the world you live in. I've been doing this kind of research all my life. And what I finally end up with today, after doing this for some 60 years, is broke with nothing, owning nothing, and I've paid a terrible price because I've lost my family, I've lost my friends, I've lost almost everything I ever did, almost ever had, because it's a very dark road when you go into the darkness of the human race, where we really come from, what the real truth is. And this is what I have always wanted to do, is try and bring light into a very dark world that I live. So that's what I try and do. I try and help people to wake up to the real facts of history. It's an extraordinary world we live in, and it's a very dark place.
You know what's funny, Jordan? I just forwarded you an email, which you might want to look at later, but you sort of intuitively answered one of the questions that came in while you were speaking. So I just wanted to let you see that in real time. It came from somebody who identifies themselves as Russell in Mississippi. Now, I don't know, but it's really fascinating. Take a look at the timestamp on that. You literally transitioned exactly from one topic to the next and sort of answered the tail end of his email there. There's some praise in there and a few other things about the presentation, and he was hoping to get in for the live show. Well, you did, Russell, just to let you know. But it's really fascinating, because what can we do about this? Can we get back to the legitimate relationship between, I hate to use this word, but the divine and ourselves? Can we actually accomplish that? Is that something? See, again, now you got to have that debate like we talked about at the top of the show, Jordan, where something, can it be done and will it be done? these are two different questions, right?
Yeah.
Can we solve all of these painful things that are destroying, murdering, absolutely causing, the deaths of thousands of children and other people that are seemingly completely innocent on the planet on a daily basis, that are being devastated by the systematic, the systematic decimation of the human family? Could we stop it all tomorrow? Yes. Will we? Well,
I don't think so. I don't think that we have the ability. We as humans do not have the wherewithal to change the world because we don't have the power to change. Why do we not have the power to change anything? We don't have the power to change anything. Why? Because knowledge is power. Without knowledge, you cannot change anything. You may have a Rolls Royce, and if it's not running, you need to get someone who understands Rolls Royces, who actually knows what's going on to fix it. And so you can't go to the same people who have caused the trouble we are in today and ask them to help us get out of the trouble. They are the enemies of the human family. They are the religionists. They open up the churches and the religions, and they all are in bed with the government. They all are being fed by the Federal Reserve and the banking institutions. And when you see how the whole world works, which, like I said, if you go on the web and go to my website and just listen to the lectures, you will hear how this whole world has been put together a long time ago by the Knights Templars, by the religious orders, by what we call today the CIA in America is actually a Masonic Catholic Vatican order operating in America today. So CIA, I say, should not be Central Intelligence Agency. It should be the Catholic Intelligence Agency. Why? Because the CIA was founded by a group called the Knights of Malta. Knights of Malta, which was an incredibly powerful secret society operating in Europe under the Vatican, under the Pope. And they are still today very powerful today, and some of the most important criminals and Nazi officers in the SS and the Gestapo under Adolf Hitler were members of the Knights of Malta. And they came over here after the Second World War, and they set up something that they call these Nazis and criminals under the Vatican. They came over to America. We allowed them in. And they came over and they set up something called the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency, as a Knights of Malta Masonic order that's running our country from behind the scenes for the Vatican. Wake up and get a light. The Vatican is the CIA in America today.
CIA works for a lot of things, though, Jordan. It's the cocaine importation agency as well. Okay.
That's right.
It works across the board. There's lots of different uses for those three letters. But, believe it or not, we're running very low on time. And I want to take this moment again to remind people that there is only one website that is Jordan Maxwell's. There's only one place that you can get directly the research information. That would be the Research Society, which you can find at Jordan Maxwell's website. And there's only one place you can get videos straight from the man himself. That is all at JordanMaxwellShow.com, okay? And you got to put it all together. It has to be all one word, JordanMaxwellShow.com. If you go there, you will find that there's a public area, sure, and absolutely feel free to email Jordan. Jordan loves to hear your thoughts, especially about presentations like this, your questions, not just for the purposes of this show, but more than happy to answer them on this show. I'm sure that Jordan would be more than happy to just respond to you if you just wrote to him and asked him some honest questions. He would give you some honest answers as best he knows. I've even heard Jordan say, I don't necessarily know about that. It's rare. but it does happen. And Jordan also, if he doesn't know something, he might actually have somebody to refer you to. So again, feel free to interact with Jordan, make a donation, join the Research Society. That's over on the right-hand of the website, right-hand side of the website, excuse me. If you're looking at it on most things, I don't know how it looks on a mobile device. It might be a little different, but I'm sure the link for the Research Society is still there, and for the videos that are streaming are there, and it's all at JordanMaxwellShow.com. Now, this has been the 17th installment of this particular series, and yes, indeed, it's going to continue until Jordan says we're done. So it's just that simple. Hopefully you'll be able to do this next Monday.
Yes, and I love doing your show. Incidentally, I'm very happy to be able to do your show. And as far as I'm concerned, I like the idea that it just goes on and on and on, because there's all kinds of questions that come up, and there's so many things that we need to talk about. And I think this is a great opportunity for me to be able to talk to the people and let them know who I am and where to go to find my work. And you've helped me immensely, and I like that, and I appreciate it. And so I think we ought to do this show on a continual basis. I like doing it.
Well, I appreciate that. Look, I'm more than happy to do this with you all the time. It is extremely educational. I learn something every single show, at least one thing. In some cases, I just remember some things I might have forgotten. It's amazing. Jordan does this with no notes, no preconceived agenda. We just come on and look, whatever questions you guys enter, whatever questions pop into my mind, whatever input I drop into this, also plays a part. And you ever notice Jordan does not have, a loss for words. He knows exactly what I'm talking about. He knows what you guys are talking about. Sometimes he's even answering your questions before I get to ask them, as we just found out a little while ago. Take a look at that email, Jordan. I think you'll find it amazing that you answered the question. The only thing specific in there, which was interesting, that I wanted to mention really quick on our way out the door, and I think this is a great closing sort of thing for the last couple of minutes. The idea that, should we establish a religion for... I find this interesting, because a lot of people figure, look, you got to come up with literature, you got to come up with a book, you got to come up with a building, you got to... it seems to me like the things that are done, sure, there's ways of training people when it comes to the arts, when it comes to practical applications of knowledge in one way or another, when it comes to navigating our way through the world, making the world a better place, creating force multipliers, taking care of the needs of individuals when it comes to farming, etc., etc. But you know what? It seems interesting to me that the majority of the greatest wisdom is not collected in a book necessarily. Of course, you can begin with books and you can learn from books, but the collection of wisdom and the ability to truthfully have a relationship with the deity or deities or whatever it is you want to say, to have a relationship with the source, if you will. It seems to me as though the establishment of a religion is counterintuitive to this. That at some point there is a way to teach without necessarily creating things which could easily be corrupted, like a structure that exists in organized religion today, etc., etc. But that's my opinion. What is your thought about that? I mean, is there a way to encourage people to go back to, like what you were saying, where people could unravel all of this and begin to have a clean connection to the divine? Yes. Or, what is your thoughts?
Well, I think that the Bible in the Old Testament, God says to Israel, you have taken a wrong road. You have accepted, the paganry of the ancient world. And then he says, go back to the old way. That's a scripture that says, go back to the old way. And this is what I'm saying that we need to do as people today. You need to go back to the old original way of understanding the universe, the way the ancient peoples knew. The things that we're trying to learn today, it's a science. And I'm saying we need to go back to the old way. And there's only a couple of people on the earth who have done that. And I've tried to do that and collect up those people who really are very well informed and trying to help people, and I promote them. And I want to put that on my website. That's one of the folders on my website. There's important people and links. If you go on my website, the research website, you will see important links and people. It's the people that I know are very, very bright and important people, talking about things that you really need to know about. So if you're going to go out and listen to things on the web, you need to go to my website and find out where the good stuff really is. So that's one of the things I've got on my research website. People you need to know about and listen to. I'm saving you the time of 30 to 50 years of trying to find out who has the good stuff. I already know who has the good stuff. I've learned from them, and I want you to know about them. So it's on my research website. Now, again, I want to thank you for having me on the show, and I'm delighted that we could do this every week. I love to do it.
Well, absolutely. Of course, at the top of that list of people was Manly P. Hall, who we've discussed on this show, who was a friend of Jordan's. He's no longer with us, but a friend of yours. And there's an interesting story if you listen back in the archives to this show. Of course, I'm not on that list just yet, but maybe one day I'll get there. Jordan, I know that you belong on your own list, and you belong at the top of it, my friend, and I want to thank you once again for doing this, and we will continue the series, but until then, like I said, go over to JordanMaxwellShow.com. Yes, you have to put it all together as one word, JordanMaxwellShow.com, and that is your starting point. You can join the Research Society. You can email Jordan, make a donation to his well-being, because that's the truth of it at this point in time. That's exactly where that money would go if you make a donation to Jordan at JordanMaxwellShow.com. You can send him an email. You can take a look at the public area if you like, but I do advise you join the Research Society. I do advise you get as much Jordan Maxwell as you can, because no insult to you, my friend, but there is a limited time that you have left here, and I think that people should, instead of celebrating you after you're gone and talking about how great you were, interact with you, participate in your well-being, your research, your work while you're still here. Because that's something I was reflecting on over the past week. A lot of people are celebrated in death. And you know what? I'd much rather celebrate Jordan in life. I will miss him if he outlives me. If he doesn't outlive me, I mean to say, you never can tell, but I will miss him if he does not outlive me. But the truth is that I think that you need to take the rare opportunity to interact with the rare people and the rare knowledge they have before they're gone. So, Jordan, thanks once again. Mondays, we're going to continue this, and it is just amazing. JordanMaxwellShow.com once again. And don't worry, guys, we'll be back again tomorrow night on Tuesday. Yeah, that's right. With Mike Swanson and Pierce Redmond, and we're going to discuss the current events, and probably it's going to be an ugly, ugly show. But anyway, let's have fun until then, and no matter who you are or where you are, remember this: I am merely Ocelli. You are all the effect. Have a good night.